Hey everybody, it's Comedex and welcome back to some more Magic Arena. Today we have a premiere draft of Kaldheim with a really nice rare to open up. The God of Storytelling, 3 mana for a 3/3. Whenever you cast a spell, add red, and creatures you control can boast twice during each of your turns rather than once. The front half of this card is quite good in an aggressive deck, allowing you to dump your hand out really quickly after this by giving that kind of 1 mana rebate on every spell you're casting. And then also late game it is very powerful as well, just a really great draw engine. You can discard a card to exile the top 2 cards of your library and cast those this turn. You do still have to pay any costs for them, so you can't play more than 1 land per turn, you can't cast spells for free, but it's still a really great way to keep drawing cards and casting spells in the late game when you've run out of other things to do. So I do think that the God of Storytelling is a very, very fantastic bomb rare in this format. So we'll start with that, and here we can take an Agar if we're trying to be blue-red maybe. The God of Storytelling is such a powerful card that in any red deck she's going to be absolutely fantastic, especially the Horn of Bounty part, just always a great late game card, and Blue-Red Giants is a pretty good strategy to be in, especially when you get cards like Agar, allowing you to draw cards every time you're dealing excess damage to a creature with one of your Giants, Wizards, or spells. So if your 3/3 Agar kills their 2/2, you draw a card. If you run amok, another 3/3, you draw a card. If you Demon Bolt, one of their creatures with 3 or less power, you draw a card. This is just very constantly able to draw at least 1 card off of it. Like at worst, if you trade into a 3/2 or something, you do draw a card there. So a really powerful card, but there's other great stuff here. Great green removal, Struggle and Blizzard Brawl. Great blue draw spell, Glimpse the Cosmos, which is actually probably pretty close to Agar here because that card is just so good in blue-red. I think I prefer just starting off with Agar and getting solidly into that color scheme than just taking the Glimpse first, although that is a really good card. That Glimpse the Cosmos is 2 mana to look at the top 3 cards of your deck, put 1 into your hand, the rest on bottom, and then you get to do it again for 1 blue mana if you have a giant on board, which is pretty easy to do in blue. Blue has some very powerful giants like Bergstrider, and also a lot of changelings that are every creature type, like Mistwalkers and Yara Kinseekers, I believe, is the 4 mana 2/4/1. Here's going to be a pretty easy Bergstrider. After we've taken an Agar, we would definitely like to be in Blue-Red Giants, so any pack where we see a powerful card for that strategy, we are just going to take it, unless we see something tremendously good for another strategy. I think the closest we have to taking something off color here would maybe be Narfi, and then trying to go like Grixis Snow, but I think I'm just more excited to just be Blue-Red Giants here. Bergstrider working just wonderfully with our Agar. So, what do we have here? This is going to be an interesting one. There's no really clear, powerful cards for a Blue-Red Giants deck. Like Firewalker is a solid filler creature. If you can get aggressive with this, you can often draw at least 1 card out of it, even off of just chump attacking with it in the late game. Bloodline Pretender, I guess. Yeah, Bloodline Pretender is probably pretty good in the strategy. It is a changeling. If we get enough giants, we can put a lot of counters on this, and even if we don't, this does help with your spells like Squash, that requires you to have a giant on board to make it cost less, and Glimpse the Cosmos, that requires you to have a giant on board to cast it from the grave. So any changelings do help with that. So Bloodline Pretender probably makes the most sense here, but I do also like the equipment here for just aggressive decks. Ruined Crown comboing well with runes, and Goldvein Pick just being a great equipment in general. Now, this pack is generally pretty weak. There's the Colossal Plow for doing the Giant Ox and Colossal Plow combo, which is really cute, but we're not even in white here, so that's just not going to happen for us. There is Surtland Frostpire, pretty great sacrifice land. In the late game, we can sacrifice this to do 2 to each creature and scry 2, and in Blue-Red Giants, often this will just never kill any of our stuff, so even if we kill just 1 of our opponent's creatures, this will be a great ability on the land, because it gives the land something to do once we're flooded out. I think Surtland Frostpire is the pick here, but there's also Snow-Covered Mountain, which is worth considering. If we're in Blue-Red Giants, you're always going to have at least a little bit of snow synergy. You're going to have Bergstriders the vast majority of the time, so you do want at least a little bit of snow in your deck. So you do want to take Snowlands kind of highly, but not as highly as if you were in like a green-based snow deck where you're just splashing in all the stuff and using all the snow mana. So this pack really has very little for us. We have Draugr Thought Thief, which is a fine filler creature, a 3/2 that allows you to look at the top card of your library, and then you can put it into your graveyard. There are some case scenarios where you'd want to look at the top card of your opponent's library, but the vast majority of the time you're just trying to set up your own draws with this. So that's the best card in our colors, because it's the only card in our colors, and Scorn Effigy, while it is colorless and could go in any deck, it is very mediocre. There are some great white cards. I mean, Rune of Sustenance and Fall of the Imposter are the best cards in the pack. But I don't think I'm really looking to hop strategies at this point. I think I'm pretty committed here. And now we can just take a Cinderheart Giant pretty easily, although it does look like white is probably the most open color, with Story Seeker and Axgard Braggart is just fine creatures. Even Master Skald, if you have a lot of sagas, this can return a saga from your grave to the battlefield. And Colossal Plow for anybody trying to do the Giant Ox combo. I'm just going to take a Cinderheart Giant here. It is nice to have a couple just really big dorks at the top end of your Giants decks, especially if you can get the Giant Saga that reduces their cost by 2. That is a pretty great combo there. Here we have another Frostpire, and it is always nice to have these sacrifice lands. They do prevent you from getting flooded out by having your lands have actual decent abilities in the late game sometimes. However, there's also a Craven Hulk, which is just a good on-curve giant. It ups the amount of giants in our deck. It gives us a 4-drop. Would help for anything like Stomp and Glimpse the Cosmos if we get any of those. We do already have one Frostpire, so I'm actually leaning a little bit towards Hulk, but Hulk is kind of mediocre. I mean, its ability is a pretty big downside. And now I wish I just took the Craven Hulk here, because I think I'm taking another Frostpire. We just have a million Surtland Frostpires in this deck, I guess. Tons of tapped lands. We could also take the Mob, but in a Giants deck we'll have plenty of just big creatures like Bergstriders and Cinderheart Giants most of the time. So just a off-tribe 5-drop isn't really what we're looking for. Most of our early creatures will be our off-tribe stuff. Depart the Realm could be okay. And maybe Seize the Spoils, gives us a treasure token to maybe ramp into stuff. Here we can take a Craven Hulk pretty easily, although we don't have any removal yet, and we are looking for as much removal as we can get, preferably damage-based removal to work with Agar, but Mists of Liara is worth a little bit of consideration here. One of the weakest removal spells in the set, but it can still help you against very aggressive decks, which the format does have, especially in like white-based aggro decks that are double spelling and have a lot of equipment and stuff. I think I am just going to go with the Craven Hulk, though. It just makes more sense at this point. Frostpeak Yeti. Pyre of Heroes maybe works for us, although it's a really weird one. I think I'm going to try it out here. Raven form is generally not very good, because you're not just permanently getting rid of whatever you're hitting. You are turning it into a 1/1 flyer, which is actually kind of a big threat in this format, because a lot of the really aggressive decks that you want your early removal against, like cards like Raven Form, have a ton of equipment as well, so just giving them a 1/1 flyer, all of a sudden they can just suit that up with a ton of equipment and still just kill you with that. So, Raven Form definitely not as good as it looks. I was definitely a lot higher on that card, and then LSV went on a whole Twitter rampage about the card, and I was like, oh, now I get it. Lots of great explanations about why the card is not that great. So we could try out a Pyre of Heroes here. I mean, we'll see. It would be fun. I don't know if it would be the greatest. This pack is pretty solid. Another Surtland Frostpire is probably just not the pick when we already have 3, although it is a good card. We have Shimmerdrift Veil. Great mana fixing and snow mana. I do like that a lot. Bind the Monster is good for some early removal, although it is really bad when you draw it in the late game, because the later the game goes on, obviously the lower your life total, the more this hurts. But early on, that is pretty good. And Frost Augur, if we end up having a ton of snow stuff, can be really good, but I don't think we're really in that deck. I think I'm just going to take a Shimmerdrift Veil here, make sure we get some snow sources to go with our cards like Bergstrider, and a little bit of mana fixing. Seems pretty solid to me. One card has been taken out of this pack, and already it has nothing for us. That is unfortunate. We're not really a run-amok deck. This card is very powerful in this format, but it's for decks with a lot of like 2-drops and 1-drops that are really getting incredibly aggressive, and we're just not that kind of deck, so that is a good card, but not for us. Same with Immersturm Raider. I mean, this one's a lot more mediocre, I feel. That's basically the one home for it, is the hyper-aggressive decks, and that's really how all the red creatures here feel. All the red cards in general. Maybe we could play a Seize the Spoils, but I'm not a fan of that. Maybe we just play a Glacial Floodplain for it comes into play tapped. Snow Island, just for more snow mana for Bergstrider, but definitely a really unexciting pack for us. And this is where we might start getting punished pretty hard for not being more open near the end of last pack. Like, if we had just picked up a bunch of white cards there, we could just be taking decent white cards out of this pack and maybe pivoting into red-white here. Although the good white cards we've been seeing haven't been super aggressive. It's been a lot of good removal, like Bound in Gold. Yeah, yet again, I'm very unexcited in taking any of the blue or red cards here. There's Bind the Monster, but we can take that later because you don't want too many of them in your deck, and they tend to go pretty late in the packs. There's Cinderheart Giant, but we already have one, and our curve is gonna be pretty high, most likely. These do go late as well. Svella just seems like the strongest card in this pack, although the Snowland has been taken out of this pack, so someone is taking Snowlands real highly, so pretty unlikely to be able to pivot into Svella, but I still think it's just by far the best card. We're getting hard cut out of blue-red here, I feel. That is unfortunate. I guess now we just start taking powerful green cards. Svella doesn't necessarily have to be in a snow deck, because Svella just makes mana and then uses that mana for the secondary ability to put free things into place. We don't actually have to be a snow deck with a million Snowlands. We could end up just pivoting into green-red here, which I could see happening because Seraph's Packmate's a pretty great creature. There's also Blizzard Brawl for a pretty great removal spell. 1 mana to have one of your creatures fight another creature, even if you don't have a bunch of snow permanents, and if you do, it's very, very good removal. I think I prefer the Packmate, 4 mana 3/3 draw card here. Just a really solid creature. It also has the Foretell versatility of being able to cast it earlier. Cosmos Elixir actually does seem like it could be a solid card in the kind of deck we're going for, because we're going to be a slower deck that is trying to hold things off. So this pack, it feels like we have Snow-Covered Forest if we do go more heavily into green, into a green-based snow deck. Lityara Kinseekers as a decent changeling for blue-red giants. Or the Cosmos Elixir as a card that is going to just draw a ton of cards if we can stabilize, and if we can't, it will stem the bleeding at least. I think I'll go with Cosmos Elixir here, see what happens. Okay, maybe the distribution of the cards in the packs has just been weird, because this pack is looking very blue-red giants. Lityara Kinseekers is just a decent changeling, as I said before. Basalt Ravager as a fantastic creature and removal spell all in one if you have some creatures that share types, and obviously in blue-red giants we're hoping to have a lot of giants on board. And then Frostpire Arcanist, which can pick up a second copy of an instant or sorcery that's in your graveyard. Of course, right now we don't have any duplicates, but this could be good later if we can pick up Squashes, Demon Bolts, that kind of stuff. I am just going to take Basalt Ravager here. We're definitely heavier into red than blue, and with the way that the first couple picks were looking there, it was looking like there was a possibility we could get pushed out of blue and into just red-green. So I'm going to prioritize red cards a little bit more highly. Now we have Axguard Cavalry or Rune of Flight. While I do like Rune of Flight, it is a way to break through late game board stalls in decks with just a lot of beefy creatures. I do want to pick up some 2-mana creatures at some point here, just because we need something to put on board against the really aggressive decks, and I prefer Cavalry over something like Harbinger, because as I said before, the Cavalry is in red, and the Harbinger's in blue, and red is our most present color here. I am having difficulties with my English speaking at this point. Alright, we have Squash and Bloodline Pretender. Bloodline Pretender, while it is a fun card for the Giants deck, we need to pick up some removal. We have no removal yet, really, and no damage-based removal for Agar, no duplicates if we can get a Frostpire Arcanist, so we are really looking for cards like Squash, so I'm going to pick that up right there. And we have Wield, Bind the Monster, and Surtland Frostpire, which is a good sign. I guess there was just some weird randomness going on early in these packs then, because this is the first pack we opened up, and we see pretty much every red and blue card that was in it. They just weren't particularly fantastic. So yeah, I guess the other packs just didn't have a lot of red-blue. All right, now I feel way better. Wow, I was maybe reading way too much into the signals at that point. Sometimes, yeah, the distribution of the cards in the pack just ends up to where there's just not really cards for your strategy. But this makes me feel a lot better with all of these cards in our colors just still being around. They are generally weak cards, but the only cards that were in our colors are still in the packs, so that is good. And now we're getting Kinseekers, pick 13. That feels fantastic. We will absolutely play a Lityara Kinseekers in this deck. It is a good tribal card. Even a Draugr Thought Thief we may end up playing, so that was a really nice twist at the end of that pack. I was getting very worried, very threatened by the lack of giant cards, but sometimes the cards just don't get opened. So for blue-red giants here, we have just a mediocre early game creature to slow down the aggressive decks, and we already have one, so I'm not really looking for a second. Cinderheart Giant, again, these tend to go late, and I'm also not really looking for more of those. I think I'm just going to take the random counterspell here. I think it's just the strongest card for its mana cost. You can also foretell it and hold it up for only 2 mana, which is good. Doomscar would be nice, but I'm not looking to splash a double white card, unfortunately. Well, this is sad. Looks like we're kind of just getting hosed by the distribution of the cards that we're opening these packs, because here's a pack yet again, only one card taken out of it, and really nothing good for us. Undersea Invader is a giant. It is a big, beefy giant, but it is pretty bad. 6 mana for a 5/6 would be okay if it didn't come into play tapped. The fact that it comes into play tapped is brutal. Adding Flash to a card that comes into play tapped really doesn't make it any better, in my opinion. What we really want in this format is just like a 6 mana 5/6 that just comes into play, even if we play it at sorcery speed, so it can actually block something the turn we play it. That is just a brutal downside on Undersea Invader, but it's likely to wheel, and we're likely to draft it just in case. We are going to take the Vault Robber first, because I think it's generally a better creature at its mana cost, but it is also pretty mediocre. Although, once our early creatures die, we can exile them for treasure tokens to try to ramp into something like a Cinderheart Giant a little earlier. Here I like Snow-Covered Island to go with our Bergstrider, although we only have a single Bergstrider right now, so we don't need Snowlands that highly. That is literally the only card we have that cares about snow, so we could just take another Kinseekers. This card is just very solid at staving off the aggressive decks if you have a good enough blue-red Giants theme going, to where you can constantly have this come out as a 3/5 and scry one. That is really good. Rune of Flight, although, for the Mirror Breaker kind of card is great. Yeah, I'll go with the Rune of Flight. I guess we do have 3/4 mana creatures already, so we're more hurting for some versatility against slower decks. Here I will take a Mistwalker because of its Changeling ability, allowing it to be a giant, make our giant tribal cards like Basalt Ravager, Agar, Squash a little better. That's why I'm taking Mistwalker over something like an Augury Raven here. Even taking it over an Alpine Meadow for another snow source, because again, our only snow card really is Bergstrider. And we have another Craven Hulk, another Cinderheart Giants, some mediocre removal, Raven Form and Mists, or a Mob. I think we're definitely not taking the Mob just because it's not a giant. We're taking one of these random giants if we want a creature, or one of these weak removal spells. I think I'll go with a Craven Hulk here. Another Rune of Flight is interesting. Another Harbinger. I'll go for another Rune of Flight here, I guess. Now we have a second Run Ashore or a Sulphurous Mire. Guess I'll take the tapped red source. Bind the Monster, Firewalker. Some kind of mediocre stuff again, but now we are pretty late in the pack, so stuff is going to be mediocre at this point. If I get rid of these lands, how many more non-land cards do I need? I think I'm good. Yeah, we've got 26 cards in here. We get to make some cuts now. Probably cutting Pyre of Heroes. I don't think we're living that tribal dream, but it could be cute. I'll take another Cinderheart Giant. And now we're going to just take these random Undersea Invaders as they come in. But we may end up cutting some of these. Didn't end up with a ton of removal. We kind of have Bind the Monster for early creatures, Saw It Coming to counter anything, and then like one Squash. So pretty low on removal. Don't feel great about that. We have Invader, Kinseekers, and Cavalry. Curve out well, have a big creature on curve that scries. I don't know. I'm going to take the Kinseekers for the tribal there, but it might be the Cavalry. Just have a better curve. More cheap things. We do get a Mists of Lityara here, so we did get one of those mediocre removal spells. We'll probably end up playing that because we are very low on removal. I guess Bergstrider and Run Ashore are both sort of temporary removal, so that might be a thing. Alright. Time to get into the deck build here. We have to cut 9 cards out of this pile. And it is sort of a pile here. I think I'm going to cut a couple non-creatures first. We have a Saw It Coming as a removal spell, or as a counter spell already, so I'm thinking maybe Disdainful Stroke here. I think like Disdainful Stroke, Pyre of Heroes. Pyre of Heroes is, as I keep saying, it is cute, but I don't think our curve even works really well for the Pyre. Like, we could sacrifice a 3-drop to get a 4-drop with the same creature type. I guess we've got enough Changelings it might be okay. Sacrifice a Kinseekers to grab a Bergstrider. Sacrifice any creature at 3 to grab a Kinseekers. You do have to do it as a sorcery as well. I just don't know. I think I'm going to end up cutting this, so we'll cut it there. Start cutting some of our creatures now. I feel like in this deck, the God of Storytelling is most often going to be just the Horn of Bounty at 5. We do have double Cinderheart, so I'm definitely not very excited about Undersea Invader. I think I will... I think we're more the kind of deck that's going to be scrying than trying to boast with Firewalker, so I'll go down 2 Firewalker, down 1 Invader. 4 more cuts to go. Immerstrom Raider is definitely the least sensical of our early drops. Just the 2-1 is a pretty bad power toughness if you're not just slamming this thing in with run-amucks and all of that. We prefer 1-3s and 2-2s and this 1-2 that has a good ability, although we do maybe still want a lot of these early drops. I'm going to cut a Raider anyway. 3 cuts to go. I can see cutting like 1 Rune of Flight. One Craven Hulk. The drawback on this card is pretty huge, because against the aggressive decks, this card is very bad, because they usually have enough removal and you have to trade enough that when you're casting this, you likely only have 2, maybe 3 creatures on board, so it's pretty easy for your opponent to just clear the rest out of the way, and then this just does nothing for you on the defensive. I'll cut 1 of these Hulks, and then we will cut 1 final card? No, 2 more cards. Oh my god, why'd I have to cut so much stuff? It's crazy. Kinda don't really like the Intruder, but I also have never cast it in my life, so I do want to give it a chance. Try it out. I did see that, I saw a post by Deathsea on Twitter where they were showing off a bunch of their 7-win decks, and one of them did have a Brine Barrow Intruder in it, so... does fill a decent role against those aggressive decks, but I have yet to experience it myself. Run Ashore as well, one of those cards that wrecks me every time I see it, but I feel very rarely has a good spot for use whenever I try to play it. And we'll drop a Draugr Thought Thief as well, and then we can cut like a Run Ashore or a Mists, something like that maybe. Cut a Mists, because we have like Intruder and some 2-drops creatures to try to hold that stuff off. 13 blue and 9 red symbols in this deck. Our average cost is pretty high at 3.5, at least from what I usually do, because I usually am the the red-white aggro. Even back in like Tinkerer's Cube, I'd often have a curve with an average cost of 2, because I'd just be mono red and cut down to like 13 lands. Those were the days. Alright. 13 blue, 9 red, so we cut one of these red sources, add in a blue. Or we could keep it at 9/8. I don't have anything that needs double red. I think I can cut a red, go 10/7 here. Bam. Here is our return to Kaldheim. It has been a little while since we've been alternating between Kaldheim and Theros for the time being. And we had that festival video in between after the Theros draft. Alright. Well, this is a curve Harbinger into Draugr Thought Thief to set up our lands. Make sure that we hit our 5th one for the Horn of Bounty and try to win off of that card, supplying us with cards to play for the rest of this game. Of course, oh my god, this is just... Draw spells the hand. We could lose this game to mill if our opponent is also on a slow deck. If they're on an aggressive deck, they could always just kill us before all this stuff happens, but it looks like they are probably one of the heavily multicolored snow decks with a green base. You see Woodland Chasm and Ice Tunnel as the first 2 lands. 2 duels to start it off. And Snow-Covered Mountain. Alright, here we go. Opponent living the snow dream here. Starting off with Grim Draugr. 3/2 that can get Menace for 2 mana if they have snow mana available, which they will definitely have for this entire game, as we can see from their cards. Well, it looks like I am actually going to be scrying on myself here because we still have not hit the 5th land. I will put that in my library. We do want to hit that. Next turn I get to play Elixir and turn 5 Horn of Bounty and just try to go off there. Regular Forest, although with a very old school card style. Pretty neat, but it is pretty hard to tell from the other side of the table what colors they have available. Of course, Spirit of the Alderguard on 4, exactly what the snow decks want to be doing. They also have 4 snow permanents already, grabbing a 5th right there to make Spirit of the Alderguard a 5/4 on attacks. I think we're just like dropping down Cosmos Elixir. We could squash the Spirit, but I think I just go Cosmos Elixir, go for a double block on Spirit if they send him with that. I suppose if I played the Elixir, then they could give the Grim Draugr Menace and attack with Spirit of the Alderguard, and then I can't not go to less than 20, because either the Menace gets through or the Spirit gets through, because I'd have to double block the Menace. So they do have a good attack into that. That'd be 4 power, so I guess it could only kill one of these, but they have enough mana to pump that twice, so they could kill both if I double block there, they kill both if I double block there. We just don't have great blocks if I just slam down Cosmos Elixir, I guess, so maybe we do just hold Squash. Not like a massive fan of this, but I think it's where we're at. We can squash Spirit of the Alderguard, and then instead of trying to draw cards off Cosmos Elixir, we can just cast Horn of Bounty next turn, and that'll always let us discard to draw. We don't have to stay at above 20 life to do that. Of course, I suppose there was an argument for squashing just during our turn. That would stop them from having like the +1/+1 hexproof spell or anything crazy like that. But if they just play a Glade Warden, we know we can squash the Spirit. Although if we do that, we know they have a great late game mana sink because we throw Spirit into the grave instead. We know they get to keep Glade Warden, and the Glade Warden can start throwing counters on their stuff. We do have Run Ashore, which puts things in hand, so we can remove all the counters of something once. So I do think that squashing here is still good, because we have a good card to play around them, dumping a bunch of counters on their stuff, because we just get rid of all those counters with this one card. So we can drop the Horn of Bounty, or we can drop Cosmos Elixir, and now we actually do have decent blocks against their stuff if they attack all. Although we would still go to less than enough life for Cosmos Elixir, but we gain life off of it and trade into a Glade Warden. I think I am going to drop Cosmos Elixir first here. Because I also just don't have cards I currently really want to discard. And the Cosmos Elixir, if they don't have any tricks, then it does pressure them into a bad attack here. Without tricks, they could put counters onto their 3/2 here, I guess. Put 2 counters on it, that'd be 4 toughness, but I can still double block and kill. I guess they have Frostbite here to kill one of my blockers. Now they know Menace can get in. Alright, well, definitely on the Run Ashore plan this game. We do have to take the 6. We can't double block that, obviously. Do I want to Run Ashore right now? And then they just redraw the Grimdraughter and have to recast the Glade Warden? That does seem pretty solid. It gives me some time, some life, but I'm not really doing anything with that time. Just playing some more dorky creatures. I guess I can wait till their turn, wait till they go to combat. And I guess I will be Run Ashoring here. This does play into them having Disdainful Stroke to counter Run Ashore, or the +1/+1 hexproof spell to counter it as well. But from what they've been playing so far, it's been a lot of just dumping stuff onto things. So yeah, when they make plays like this that are just dumping more mana to make their things better, that is going to play so well for us, because now we can put Glade Warden back into their hand. They don't even have enough mana to recast it. Oh yeah, this is going to be fantastic. They are not going to be casting anything this turn. They've got 1 mana left. We're going to put Glade Warden back on top, I guess, and then it doesn't matter because they can't cast either right now, so it really doesn't matter which one we put where. Alright, so we know that we're going up to 20 life here. Play Craven Hulk. I can play 1 card here, so I play Craven Hulk, or I play my Horn of Bounty, or I play my Kin Seekers. Kin Seekers seems really bad. I think I play Craven Hulk before I play Kin Seekers, if that's the plan. I still can't play Horn of Bounty and discard to it immediately, because obviously I'd be discarding a card and then probably hitting a spell that I can't cast because I've got no mana left. I'm going to play Horn of Bounty first here. Since they have Raven Wings out, they're going to have just good attacks into my board, so I think I really need to be able to draw into any of the removal that I have in this deck, or any of our runes that give flying. Those would also be good here, because if we just dump everything on the board, they can easily just throw Raven Wings onto something and just keep smacking us. So these don't even really help that much as blockers until I draw something like Rune of Flight, which obviously I just did. So that is good. However, we can't play a creature that blocks super well, because I really don't want to play Kin Seekers till I get a counter on it. But I guess I could play Kin Seekers, throw Rune of Flight on it, and have a blocker that way. But they can give their Menace creature flying, and then I still can't block it. Maybe we play Craven Hulk? Or do I just discard to the Horn right now? Yeah, I'll discard to the Horn, see if we can't hit something better for this situation. No, the same cards we just had access to already. We have a Kinseekers, we have an island. Alright, well we definitely play that as land for turn. I guess since we got a bonus Kinseekers, it's going to go away at the end of this turn anyway. We'll play this one, give this one the Rune of Flight, but they can just equip Wings and give Menace and poke through that way. That being said, even if they can prevent us from ever drawing cards off of Elixir, we can keep drawing cards off of Horn of Bounty and trying to outrace them by using the life gain from Elixir. It's not the end of the world here. We're going to take 6 though. Alright, so drawn to a Cinderheart Giant for 7. Play the land and play Cinderheart. If I discard the land to the Horn of Bounty, I don't know if I can Cinderheart this turn, and if I hit any good cards, I don't want to Cinderheart this turn. I kind of think I want to just play a Cinderheart this turn, and then start attacking them with that. If we draw into our second Rune of Flight, that'll obviously be awesome. But I think we are trying to race now, so I'm just going to put as big of a threat on the board as possible. If they have something to destroy it, that's not that bad for us, because it has a good ability when it dies. If they have something to exile it, though, like Feed the Serpent, that will be a bad time. Obviously, they do get to keep hitting us with this Grimdraugr till we draw a second Rune of Flight or a second flying creature like a Mistwalker or a removal spell like I forget what it's called, but we have the 1-mana removal spell in this deck. The 1-mana enchantment, Bind the Monsters, that's what it's called. Did draw land for the Horn of Bounty, so let's see what we hit. Counterspell, and we cannot foretell a card that is not in our hand, unfortunately, so the counterspell is very rough here. Well, I guess we play a Kinseeker's Scry, play land for a turn, and play Craven Hulk. Maybe I should play the Craven Hulk first, that way they can't kill a creature in response. Agar doesn't actually really help me here, because we're just getting killed by this Grimdraugr. Don't really need to draw cards, and I can't consistently draw cards off of this. I just need to hit my removal. Like, I need to hit one specific card right now, so I think I throw that on the bottom. Just keep slamming in with what we've got here. Attack with Cinderheart Giant and Kinseekers. They can put more counters onto their Grimdraugr if another creature dies, so they could chump block Cinderheart Giant, take 5 from Trample, and then just use those counters to make the Grimdraugr bigger. Run Ashore. See, this is what I mean. This is a game where I literally cast Run Ashore, and like, it was fine, but then our opponent cast Run Ashore and it was devastating. That was brutal. That was definitely a lesson on why you always do things main phase 2 if you're not a lazy person like me. Because technically we could have cast our counterspell against that if we just waited to cast all our creatures till main phase 2. So strictly speaking, it is very rarely the correct play to cast things main phase 1 like I did there, and it cost us there. I just do it the vast majority of the time because I am much too lazy. And we are taking 8 flying menace damage. 9 now from the Sculptor of Winter, untapping the 2-mana land. I guess I should have put Cinderheart Giant on bottom because I just died a Grimdraugr next turn if I don't have a way to kill it, and I don't have a way to kill it. Although I can just discard the Cinderheart Giant. We could discard both of these. Discard Kinseekers first, I guess, because it's smaller. Pretender and Mistwalker. We need another flyer, so this doesn't do it. There we go. Bind the monster. They can give another one of their creatures flying, which is pretty brutal, but I have enough mana to pump Mistwalker twice, which kills either of these. I guess they can use Glade Warden. No, they don't have another creature in grave, so they can't even use Glade Warden to put another counter on Sculptor of Winter. So they throw the Raven Wings onto their Glade Warden and attack with that. They're attacking with a 4/3 flyer. I can block with a 3/4 flyer if I leave all this blue mana up. I can't afford to play Bloodline Pretender and block and trade with Glade Warden, so we have to just not play Bloodline Pretender. I should have attacked with probably just Craven Hulk there. Still be safe because we're at a low life total, but just attack with Craven Hulk. I guess Elixir is gaining us 2 life every turn still. Alright, yep. Just gonna go for it here. Do they have the pump spell then? I guess they get to move that to Sculptor of Winter. They do 3 to me a turn, I gain 2 a turn. I think I can probably win that race if we get to kill Glade Warden here. Of course, if they just play like a Lindworm or something, we're super dead. Frostpeak Yeti. And another Sculptor of Winter. So tons of things to give flying to. Yeti even just gets unblockability of its own accord. Pretty good against my deck trying to just stalemate things here. Bergstrider's not great here. We actually didn't draw any of our snow lands. Oh my god, I left all of my non-basic lands out of this deck the whole time. Because I cut them earlier. And that's probably going to cost us this game. We actually have 3 copies of the thing that does 2 to every creature. I am clearly a bit rusty here, so that is about the most hilarious way we could lose this game, but yeah, I'm pretty sure we're going to lose because of it. Basalt Ravager does get to kill Frostpeak Yeti at least, and then Brine Barrow Intruder we don't get to cast. We don't get to cast that during our opponent's turn. So we have to just cast it right now and really not do anything with it. We're taking 3 a turn and gaining 2 a turn. We could still get there. I think this is a win that I've drastically not earned from just several errors that I've made here in the deck building and then casting everything main phase 1. Wow, they just scoop them up. All right then, Cosmos, Elixir, and Horn of Bounty going to carry us to victory off of some definite rusty growing pains there. I actually haven't drafted in like a week, if I'm being completely honest. All of the drafts that you saw last week were in one just batch recording session on my day off, and I am starting the next one right now, so I am clearly incredibly rusty, especially with this format. Alright, so we just put in 4 red sources, so boop, 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 and 1 blue source, so boop that, and there we go. Now we actually have our non-basics in here again. And that should be good here. Oh, Shiverger fails well. Throw that in instead of another island, because we did cut him out earlier. Wow, yeah, our mana base is way better than it was that game. I should have noticed when it was all basic lands. Luckily, still got the victory there. I will take it. Really riding high off the back of those rares. But let's see if we can't recalibrate, get into the next round, and simply play well this time. I will definitely keep this 7. Real good curve. Harbinger, Mistwalker, Elixir with a Squash with 1 Changeling to cast it. Our turn 1 plays a tapped land, which is beautiful. We've drawn into a Rune of Flight, which is fun. Not perfect with this hand, but the worst case scenario with the runes is always just casting them to draw a card, which is fine. Like, we just give a Harbinger flying. Not that exciting, but we do still draw a card off of it if we need to. We did hit our 4th land, so we don't even have to think about that for a while, because now we can cast all of these cards. Of course, Squash only if our Changeling's on the board. We are playing against white-black. These tend to be double spell kind of strategies, with a lot of foretell cards to help that out. think we just drop Mistwalker, get ready to block that thing. And hopefully they've got a pretty slow hand. Because if they can't pressure us, Elixir is going to come down hard here. Really lock up this board. Alright, well that will pressure us. Now we have to trade with Mistwalker, and we need to hold 2 mana up to do it. I do have Squash, but it costs 2, so I can't cast Elixir and Squash in the same turn. If they're going to Gold Vein pick onto the Courser, I'm definitely going to kill that next turn. So I can Root of Flight onto Harbinger and still hold up Squash, but that's the only play where I do hold up Squash. I guess I just hold up Mistwalker's ability and Squash here. I guess Mistwalker isn't blocking anything, so we get to attack both in, pump Mistwalker once. Yeah, we're not making any blocks here, so we might as well get our damage in while we can. Definitely another one of the minor mistakes that was happening a lot last game I would like to not repeat here. So white-black should not really have anything that can counter a 6 damage spell on a 3 toughness creature. They have like +1/+1 double strike stuff, but they don't really have anything that gives protection. There's one black spell that will bring it back from the grave when it dies this turn. That card's not that good and not generally ran that often. So I don't expect that. So yeah, the Squash is pretty safe during their turn. And a Bloodsky Berserker it is, going to cast another spell to give it counters. Yes, a Basir Shieldmate. They can get a 3/3 permanently, menace just during that turn. No snow mana for our Bergstrider. Makes that not super exciting. We don't have any removal here to take down the Berserker. I could hold up 2 mana, or 4 mana, to pump Mistwalker twice and trade with 3 power, but they can put a pick on it, then it's got 4 power. They're likely to cast 2 spells this turn as well. That is going to be real painful. We really want to hit snow mana for Bergstrider. I think we just play Kinseekers and Scry here over the Cosmos Elixir. Agar. Agar is a good card, but we just cast our 1 damage-based removal spell, so we're only drawing cards off of our giants killing their things. We are looking for snow mana. I think I'm getting rid of Agar again. Just gonna constantly scry Agar to the bottom. It's real weird. I could definitely see blocking with both of these, so I don't think I'm attacking this turn. Like, we chip 1 damage in if I attack with the flyer. I could definitely see situations where we block here. Like if they play like Feed the Serpent on Kinseekers or something, but then I guess they just kill Mistwalker. So they've played a Giant Ox here. They're very likely to just have another pump spell. Another spell. If I had to guess, this is +1/+1 double strike here, because they have a Foretold card and 1 white mana up specifically. So if it's that, then Bloodsky Berserker gets 2 counters, it's a 5/5. It's a 6/6 double strike once it gets +1/+1 double strike. 6/6 double strike is big enough to kill everything and not die. So if they have +1/+1 double strike, we kind of just lose this game regardless. Because we take 12 damage to the face if they just use that here. But if we block with everything, everything dies and we don't even kill the Berserker. Yeah, that's pretty brutal. Maybe we chump block with Harbinger? I don't think so. We just chump block next turn. Show me the 10 damage. I know you have it. Yeah, I mean, we read the situation correctly. We just don't have any good play for the situation. Like, if we chump block with Harbinger there, like, sure, we stop the damage that turn, but then they just don't cast Kaya's Onslaught and have it for a future day. So that doesn't even really stop it. That's just, we lose Harbinger and they didn't even spend a card to kill it. Maybe the best block would have been Kinseekers, actually. You know, that's like some advanced brain thinking that I'm not capable of. that I think I just got there now. We probably should have blocked with Kinseekers because that forces them to Kaya's Onslaught if they want to kill Kinseekers. So we get Kaya's Onslaught out of the way and we take no damage, and then we can just replace it with a 4/4 instead of this 3/5 body. I think I'm going to play the Elixir here to start gaining some life. We can just like chump block once a turn on Berserker. If they double spell, obviously we'll have to chump block with 2 things, which is pretty bad. But, yeah, we're not in a great spot. Runeforge Champion, oh dear. Picks up the Death Touch rune to throw on that Gold Vein pick. That seems pretty great. Even just throw it on Berserker. I mean, Berserker was already killing everything that blocked it, so I'm not sure I agree with the play, because it doesn't give any extra power. So I think you just throw it on the Gold Vein pick. I guess now I can't triple block and not lose all my creatures, but I could already double block. Actually, no, I could have blocked with my 1/3 and my 3/5, and they wouldn't have been able to kill both. So now I'm forced into a double block where I do lose all of them. Yeah, this deck is just brutal. We're very dead. I mean, we can play 1 creature, double block Berserker there, take 4. I do gain 2. Bergstrider, again, it doesn't keep anything tapped down because we haven't drawn any snow mana. I guess we play Cavalry, draw a card off of it, hope to hit something better here. Can't afford the Frostpire, we're 1 mana off from that. Even if we could, it only kills Shieldmate here. Run Ashore would actually be sick this game, although we are still 1 mana away from that as well. Gold Vein pick onto the Runeforge Champion. So it's a 3/4. I don't have 4 power outs, so that does work. Didn't give Menace, so I do get the chump block here. Axguard Braggart. There's our snow mana, but comes to play tapped. So that's pretty brutal. Yeah, our opponent's deck is just super sick. As I said before, there were some plays we could have done better. As always, I'm not the greatest player in the world. I just enjoy drafting. But, all in all, I think that was a game we were pretty unlikely to win. But it could have went pretty differently if we got that Kaya's Onslaught out of the way without taking any damage. That would have helped a lot. But we still needed to draw removal for the Bloodsky Berserker, and we needed to draw it quickly, and as you can see by our draws, we just did not. Although we would have had more time. So, who knows? It could have changed the course of the game if the removal was in the next, like, 3 cards. But even then, we were facing a lot of pressure from the equipment and their other creatures. Hand's awkward, but I am going to keep it. We have all of our colors. We have multiple spells to play later. We can play a Rune of Flight on one of our lands to draw a card. Drawing a Bind the Monster is pretty good here, because we do just want to slow down our opponent, because we have no creatures, so I'm going to bind a Fearless Pup. Mildly embarrassing. But it's definitely where we're at. We just want to slow them down at all costs. We've got plays for like every other turn here. Trying to draw cards. Make sure we hit all our mana to play all of our late game cards. Looks like we're going to still have a pretty bad time here. We don't have a card to play next turn. No turn 3 play is going to hurt a lot. If they curve out here. Not quite a curve out, but still 4 power on the board. Well, Agar, there we go. Agar blocks one of those well. They could have a Demon Bolt to kill it, although they don't have one Foretold. So they will have to spend all of their mana on that. Could be mono red here. Red is like good enough in this format in an aggressive deck that you can be mono red sometimes. Well, if they have Run Amok, I am very screwed, because then I just don't have any good blocks. I go down to 13. I do have Squash in hand. I only have 3 mana available next turn. I think I don't block here because I have Squash. If it weren't for this squash, I would block and make it so they have to have run amok to get me. But, pretty sure they have run amok, especially because they didn't cast anything else. Right there. Now we can block, and if they try to run amok, we can just squash. And if they don't run amok, then we're like, alright, good. I got a creature for free. See what this is here. Oh, could just be a frostbite to kill Agar now that it's taken damage. Interesting. Or they could have been bluffing the run amok. I'm going to squash their other creature, draw another card here. Now we are actually pretty handedly winning this game, I think, just because of the amount of card advantage we have. And we're still at 11, which is like a pretty decent life total. I like Bergstrider being able to tap something. Cravenholt can't really block here, which isn't great, but they probably don't have like a massive haster or anything. I think I'm going to play Cravenholt first. I want to keep Bergstrider's ability from when they actually have a creature I want to tap down. And Cravenholt is just as large. We've got a Cinderheart Giant coming out later. We're in a real good position here. They could be like really stuck on mana, of course. They could actually be 2-color. But if they are, that would be a pretty big bummer. Dwarven Hammer, real solid card. That can sort of try to get them out of this. 5/1 Trampler here. We attack both. They trade for one of our 4/4s. The mob gets to attack us next turn. We're at 11. We definitely take 1, go to 10. That's 10 power there. Play Cinderheart Giant, I guess. 3, 4, 5, 6. I play land Cinderheart Giant. And then I block that. Cinderheart Giant kills another creature. I think I still want to get aggressive here because they're dead in 2 attacks. And against like mono red, I don't think there's anything that we die to here. If they squash, we have a 33% chance of losing. Because when Cinderheart dies, it kills one of their creatures at random. So if it kills Fearless Pup, we die. But if it kills anything else, we still live. We still live and we still win just right after. We'll definitely attack everybody. We trade on any of these blocks. They can get rid of the value of the Cinderheart Giant's ability by killing all my creatures off the blocks. I guess they can. It's got 6 toughness. Jeez. Yeah, Cinderheart Giant's just massive in this format. Oh, I could have Frostpired pre-combat. Oh, they do have the squash. Let's see if they would have won if they went for it. Nope. Alright. Would you have went for it if you were our opponent? I don't know. I might have went for it, just because it's funny. If the Cinderheart Giant would have squashed their Fearless Pup and they used squash on their turn before attacks, maybe. Maybe they would have had that one. But we did manage to stabilize against them. Agar helped a lot, drawing us 2 cards, killing 2 of their cards. Killing 3 of their cards, really, because we killed their 2/2 and their Frostbite. Like, we traded Agar into both those cards, and Agar drew us a card off of killing their 2/2, and drew us a card off of squashing their other creature. So Agar was huge to that game. Was definitely a fantastic draw. Really helped us get some more card advantage, more cards to play around with and stabilize. All right, we are going first. Drop down that Sulphur's Mire. Shimmer Drift probably on red for Cinderheart Giant. We do have 2 blue sources already. Now we have a 3rd blue source, so yeah. Shimmer Drift on red, I'd say. Turn 3, Draugr Thought Thief, unless they play something we really want to bind. And they just foretell a card. Our opponent is on green-black so far. Definitely Thought Thiefing myself, because I have 6 lands already. I do not want to draw any more. Technically, I want to draw 1 more land eventually for Cinderheart Giant, but we don't want to draw more lands for several turns. We want to draw 4 drops and 5 drops, things to actually cast this game. we can hold off on the next land. And the Cosmos Elixir is looking beautiful against this empty board. If our opponent doesn't drop a haster here, we're going to have a great time. Opponent is on a heavily multicolored green-based snow deck, as is incredibly popular in the format. Feels like 50% of the matches are against this deck. Glittering Frost, Snow-Covered Swamp, Snow-Covered Mountain, Binding the Old Gods so far. They did have Binding to kill our Cosmos Elixir, so just gained us 2 life. Got rid of the removal spell, but did not draw us any cards this game, sadly. Here come our friends of the land. Of course, we still have uses for every land that we've drawn so far, but any land past this point is definitely slowing down our momentum a lot. Our current threats are literally a single 3-2, so I think our opponent will have a pretty easy time stabilizing currently. We'll see, though. Their hand could also be just a ton of lands. Grabbing a forest from Binding the Old Gods, I expect a dual land, most likely. Nope, just a snow-covered forest, alright. So Jund over here is the colors we know they're playing at this point. Although they could be really heavily into snow. Snow is interesting because a lot of the times you don't know what colors your opponent's actually playing, because a lot of snow decks will use the dual lands just to have a snow source. Like I'm using Sulphurous Mire with no black cards because it comes into play tapped red snow source for our Bergstriders. Whereas like some decks are even so snow heavy that they could even be playing snow basics that they don't care about. However, now that we've seen a Bergstrider, almost 100% sure this is just the 5-color snow, because they don't even have a blue source on the field. They cast that off of a Glittering Frost. So I have to assume they actually have red, black, and green cards, and we know they have blue cards as well, so that's every color except the white, at least. Serap's Packmate, drawing a card. Having a nice little 3/3 out that'll trade with the Thought Thief. I did cast Kinseekers there because my opponent was so slow to get on board this game that I felt it was possible they just wouldn't really have a follow-up. Of course, the Packmate Arnie Slays the Troll did work out really badly for that. But there was certainly an argument for just holding off on it, waiting to cast Cinderheart Giant, and trying to get the Scry one out of the Kinseekers at least. Although I'm not sure a 3/5 would be that much better than a 2/4 against this deck. Ooh, Bloodline Pretender. Unfortunately, I don't think I can really afford to play that instead of Cinderheart Giant here. I guess Cinderheart Giant even just dies to Eyeside Troll. We gotta get a way to kill this troll, and I don't think we have one. Because it can get indestructibility, we've used our one enchantment-based removal spell. I think the rest of our removal is counter spells and burn, which is not going to kill an indestructible creature. So we might just get domed by an Eyeside Troll. It's going to get more counters here too. Oh my god, it's just going to be a 4/5 naturally. They only have to pump it once to make it big enough to kill Cinderheart Giant. This is pretty brutal. Master Scald to return Binding the Old Gods? Oh no, they have to exile a creature from their grave to do that, and they do not have a creature in the grave. And Kaldheim is a pretty exhausting format. If you are newer to Draft, I certainly do not recommend it. Every time someone plays something, I'm just like, wait, so that does that? Wait, no, because it's got 10 lines of text. They actually have to exile a creature to do that. I will go Bloodline Pretender into Agar here so we can get a counter on the Bloodline Pretender. So we've got a lot of creatures out, but we just can't attack into this Eyeside Troll. So I guess we're just going to chill, just be vibing until our opponent kills us. We could always draw our Horn of Bounty. I think that would be our one way out of this, is if we draw Horn of Bounty early and then just try to cast a million spells every turn and get this board as wide as possible to get to lethal, but I think that's like our one way to win through an Eyeside Troll right now. Run ashore would do it too, actually. Throw the troll back in their hand or on top of their deck, we get a free swing that turn. Probably throwing the troll on top of their deck and like the Scald in hand or something, I don't know. We did draw the Horn of Bounty, so we can try to get in on that plan. No, we can't. We have been disdainful stroked. The spell has been countered. Well, I suppose we do still have the run ashore plan then. Not even with a blue source did they counter it. They countered it with their Glittering Frost for the blue again. That's just rude. The very off-color counterspell to get us. Of course, we don't know how many blue sources they have in their deck. They could have just not drawn them. That's definitely always a thing. Can I afford to not block here? Like, if I don't block, I do get to crack back in. Well, they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 snow sources, so they can pump 3 times. They hit for 10. You know what? Sure, do it. Do it. Just 4. That's kind of weird. Maybe they have a second Eyeside Troll to cast right now? I guess I only get to attack with Cinderheart Giant, so that's actually not that great of a crackback. What is it with Run Ashore? Oh, alright. Well, Cinderheart Giant goes to the top. I don't even think we win if we just miss our next draw step to cast Cinderheart Giant again, because we still really need a way to deal with Eyeside Troll. I guess we've got a lot of time to do it because we can chump block and stuff, so I will keep it. This Run Ashore definitely not as good as the last Run Ashore that was cast against us, I think. But it was a real solid looking Run Ashore. Oh, there's the first blue source. Glacial Floodplain coming on in. And they can pump 3 times still, so they can still just hit us for 10. We know they don't have anything else in their hands, so we know Eyeside Troll's just straight up a 10-5 right now. They have absolutely no reason not to pump it 3 times there. That is not what I want to see here. Guess we attack Cinderheart Giant. I guess we kind of went for the really crazy play of not blocking Eyeside Troll, hoping they spend all their mana into it, and then hoping they block Cinderheart Giant, and I get the 1 out of 5 chance to kill Eyeside Troll when it dies. That was maybe like our one way out of here. But that's so unlikely because it also involves our opponent tapping all their mana out to it. And yeah, if they're just going to give Indestructible right now, I think they would have left 2 mana up. We get to kill 2 creatures at a giant, kill a 3rd here. Come on, Raven. Ooh, won the lottery. Draw a card off Agar too. Beautiful. Rune of Flight to give flying to something is actually not that good. They did counter our Horn of Bounty, so we have no reason to hold lands in our hand. Yeah, I'll throw this on Agar, I guess. So I can draw a card here before I cast Pretender, in case I draw a 6 mana card. I did not. I drew Harbinger. Let's play Pretender, choose Wizard, because most of my giants are giant wizards, and Harbinger is a wizard right now, so we'll immediately get a counter on Pretender for attacking in more, because they're probably attacking us with Troll. We chump block with Harbinger, crack back for 6, hoping to draw a card off top. Sculptor of Winter. Alright. Eyeside Troll doesn't quite get lethal yet. 1, 2, 3, 4 times? Does 12? Harbinger doesn't even attack in, though. Yeah, might as well here. Like, we take 12, go to 2, and keep a Harbinger on board, or we just get rid of the Harbinger right now? I can't attack with both of these, because they're not going to block the Bloodline Pretender, because it's a giant, so they'll draw a card. Well, they know I will draw a card if they block. And our last card's a mountain, so if they don't block, we just die. So they're already not likely to block, so I don't think we play to the one outcome that might make that attack good. We do die to a single removal spell? I guess not. Yeah, we just go to 2. Oh my god, they keep drawing snowlands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10? They can pump 5 times now? Oh wait, this is not snow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So it's not lethal yet. It's like, I'm gonna hold off. Because I might draw a worse creature than Pretender to chump block with. I still had to not attack that turn, because if I attack, they attack with both, and it is lethal. Because I've got no blockers. Obviously they hit for 4. Oh, it is still lethal, because Sculptor of Winter's ability. Well, we could have had one more draw step, but I don't think there's anything in our deck that would have won. This is a mildly embarrassing draft, but I feel like most of the mistakes are in games we would have mega lost anyway. All right, 2-2. See if we can't win this game here, get up to at least an average record in this Kaldheim draft here, go 3-3. Alright, we are going first. Well, some early interaction, bind the monster and saw it coming. Of course, no creatures in the early game, though. Definitely trying to survive off of these 2 cards. Glacial Floodplain, come on out. We'll foretell a saw it coming, so it costs less to hold it up later. Opponent starts with a snow-covered plains and an island. Blue-white thus far. And a Beskier Shieldmate is going to start things off, meaning they're probably pretty aggressive. Basalt Ravager is pretty good against a Shieldmate, so I think I'm not going to bind the monster here. Because I can just play a Basalt Ravager by itself and it'll deal 1 damage to the Shieldmate, turn into a 1/1 Human Warrior. A lot easier to block with a 2 toughness creature. Starnheim Courser. Just bind that, but then I don't have Saw It coming up. And I don't play Ravager that turn. I'm actually going to counter that here. That's a pretty rough one there. Because, like, if I don't counter it, I can just bind the monster instead, but then all I'm doing on my turn 4 is my 1 mana bind the monster instead of my 4 mana Ravager that I want to do to kill their 2/1. So that's, like, the main reason I did it, is so I can still make the most of my mana, but that might have been a situation where it is better to just bind the monster and just keep taking 2 for a bit. Because we could bind the monster and hold up the counterspell for something else this turn. I don't know. Goldvein Pick would have been a solid card to counter. It's gonna hurt until we get a Cinderheart Giant. I'm super surprised they didn't attack. I guess they want to play it defensively here. They don't want to take 4 on the crackback. I'm definitely not going to bind a token. We're 1 mana away from Run Ashore, 2 mana away from these Cinderheart Giants. We definitely have the late game plays here. Of course, Run Ashore will be real spicy against the token that they have. If we hit the mana... Oh, tapped land. Oh, that does hurt. I'm gonna go ahead and just tap down the Batter Shield Warrior. If they don't play a creature this turn, now Run Ashore is not as good because it does bounce 2 things. But I think this is still better because we're not going to be saving up the mana for buying the monster in any future turns, because next turn we Run Ashore. After that, we're going to be just dropping 7 mana on these things multiple times. And move the pick over to the Raptor, sure. Yep, alright. Pretty great draw. Hit the land. We are going to Run Ashore now. 1 to hand, 1 on top. We're going to put the Raptor on top and the token in hand. So the token's just dead, the Raptor goes on top of their deck, we get to hit him for 4, and we're casting 2 Cinderheart Giants on our next 2 turns. Hopefully they will be big enough to outrace the small creatures with equipment that are coming out of this white-blue deck. They do have a Foretold card. Never mind, it's just an Augury Raven. I was going to say, I'm a little scared that that could be a Foretell counterspell like we had, but it was not. So we're not attacking with our 4-2 here because the Battlefield Raptor does have First Strike to kill it without even dying, so that would be a pretty terrible attack. Buying the monster on Cinderheart Giant, at least it does 7 to their face, so that's pretty nice. Ooh, they are attacking with Battlefield Raptor. We might actually get him with Basalt Ravager. We'll see what they play post-combat here. They are down to 9. So this is going to be a close one. A real race. Two mana up. 2 cards in hand and 1 that they just foretold, so they can't cast whatever they foretold here. Alright, Shieldmate. Pretty great creature against the Basalt Ravager. The Frostpire, unfortunately, kills our Ravager, and it just kills their Shieldmate, and they get a token out of it anyway. So I want to just get the Shieldmate out of the way for our Cinderheart Giant coming up. Because then I could attack with Ravager. They probably block with Shieldmate, and then we use the Frostpire to kill those and scry 2. No, we're definitely casting a Cinderheart Giant here, and if we're casting Cinderheart Giant, I do not think we're attacking with Ravager right now. I do have double Frostpire, though. That looks pretty cool. But we're very far from having enough mana to use both in one turn. We have to have 5 mana and tap a Frostpire. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We need 3 more mana to activate both of these in one turn. But if we could do that, we could wipe their board and leave our Cinderheart Giants. Which is kind of cool. I don't think we're getting there off that, though. I think we definitely have to draw into something else to break through this situation. We're going down to 8 here. We're dead in 2 more turns to their flyers. They could hit us for 5 a turn off of their flying creatures if they want, if they go all in. But they're down to 9 against a 7-power Trampler. Uh-oh, another flyer. That means we're dead in 1 turn? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7? Not quite. Oh. If I use a Frostpire, my Ravager dies, so I don't get to attack with it, but if I don't use a Frostpire... 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They could triple block Cinderheart. That seems generally kind of bad for them, though. I think I want to attack with everybody and then use Frostpire, like after a Shieldmate has died. Actually, no. Ravager doesn't even attack well into the Battlefield Raptor anyway, because of the first strike. Yeah, let's actually just Frostpire right now. Also scry a couple cards, and then we just get to cast Cavalry main phase 2. They have 3 power on board after this. So they have a 1/1 token from Shieldmate, and they have a Battlefield Raptor. Bergstrider could be lethal. We only have 1 more turn after this, probably. So I think that's the only card that really matters here. Bergstrider could be lethal, especially with Cavalry to give it haste, because it taps down one of their blockers. Alright, we have 4 toughness against 3 power of creatures, which means we do get to attack him without losing Giant here. They now only have 5 power flyers here. They could have the +1/+1 double strike spell, but we still get to kill... No, actually we don't. Ooh, Iron Verdict, okay. Alright, I'm glad it wasn't the +1/+1 double strike spell, because that actually would have got me pretty bad, because then they'd have 4 power in the first strike damage step to get me there. Alright, cavalry it is. We are not going to be able to kill them in 1 more turn, and they are going to be able to kill us in 2 more turns, so that's terrifying. If they throw the pick onto the Raven, they hit us for 4 right now, hit us for 4 again next turn. Of course, Bergstrider does keep Raven tapped, so that's our game plan there. Tap down that Raven for a turn, get a chance. Oh no, now we just don't have a chance. We can only tap one of their flyers and they can throw the Gold Vein pick onto whichever one does not get tapped down. So that's just a game. We can't even kill it with Frostpire because they moved the +1/+1 over to it. And even if we could kill it with Frostpire, we don't have enough mana to play Frostpire and Bergstrider. Well, this was a really solid game to end it. I think this was just a really fun round altogether. But, yeah, we are just dead to flyers here. And that'll do it. So that is the end of today's Kaldheim Premier Draft. We've got a lot of Limited coming up if you're interested in that. Definitely some more Theros, because Theros will be leaving on March 12th, so not too much more time for Theros, so might just focus on Theros for the next couple drafts. But then on March 12th, they are replacing Theros, in a way, with War of the Spark Premier Drafts, so we'll be hopping in on some of those. Of course, then next month in April, late April, Strixhaven will be coming out and we'll be doing some of that. So lots of cool Limited stuff coming up. And of course, even these festival events, these cool constructed events coming up, lots of stuff in terms of just variety gameplay coming out. So I'm excited about that. Gonna do a little bit of everything. So thank you all very much for watching. If you want to see more of the content, stay right where you're at. Like, comment, subscribe, all of those goodies. They do help the channel grow, and I would love to make it to 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year so that we can at least get the ability to post updates without posting a full video, because I just think that's a cool feature in general. So that is a nice thing that I'll have access to at 1,000. And plus, also, it's always great to grow the channel, get more people in the community. So, yeah, that is going to end the video. I'm really bad at the outros. I always do them like 3 or 4 times in a row at the end. But as I was saying, thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon.